Welcome back to the Freeway Philharmonic, the podcast that helps musicians save more and spend smarter. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and your podcast platform at Freeway Philharmonic.
Woo!
Please don't forget to rate and review us so we can either cry or hear how funny we are. It really helps get the word out to other musicians trying to be less poor. Thanks very much for helping us help you.
We also really like compliments, so we need that self-esteem boost.
Yes, please. I'll cry. Anyway, this week we're diving into savings options, exploring the best ways to save for short term, medium, and long term goals. We're covering things like savings accounts, investments, retirement accounts, and more. If terms like Roth IRA, bonds, or HYSA send shivers down your timbers, don't worry. We'll break them down step by step so you can start making better financial decisions for your future. Tune in for all the details and take big steps towards securing your financial future as a musician.
We're going to start smaller. We're going to start with options for short and medium term goals. Okay, so we said this episode was all about savings accounts, but lo and behold, we're going to start by talking about checking accounts. Why? Because you typically need one for daily life, and because they're also not all created equal, and we're here to tell you which ones blow. You probably know checking accounts are used for daily spending and are used for frequent money transactions as compared to savings accounts. Standard checking accounts like those that come with a debit card and checks, but not much else. That's your typical checking account, like I got at US Bank when I was a wee lass. RIP to a mediocre one. Standard checking accounts typically earn you zero interest on your money, or in my case, it was like 0.004%. So not great.
Okay.
Yeah, so tiny, but don't have a minimum balance fee or transaction limit. These are perfectly fine accounts to have, but you could be earning interest even with a checking account by opening an interest earning checking account.
Yes, interest earning checking accounts do exist. I see some that are 0.1% all the way up to 0.5%. It may not be much, but it's certainly better than having 0% interest with a standard checking account. Make sure to check the terms and conditions to make sure there aren't monthly maintenance fees or a balance minimum to get that annual APY or annual percentage yield. If there are requirements you don't want to deal with, then obviously a standard checking account works great for like the whole world.
Pretty much everyone.
For those of you looking to optimize like we are, these exist. And if a checking account doesn't earn interest, or even if it does, sometimes they give you cash bonuses on top of that that are worth even more. I see a few where you can earn between $100 to $500 by meeting the requirements, usually a direct deposit or sum of some kind. It's all very doable if you get paid electronically. And then you can automate your pay to be transferred to your savings account so you don't even have to touch it.
Obviously, when we use the generic words savings account, we are all understanding that savings account's main purpose is to help you save over time while earning a small amount of interest. In this bank savings account sense, there are two types of savings accounts, traditional and high yield. We want you to know the difference between them because traditional savings accounts are lame. Traditional savings accounts usually accrue a very small amount of interest and are run by brick and mortar banks or credit unions. Hello, US Bank. They are lame because of their limited ability to make you money on your money. They usually accrue between 0.01 to 0.1% interest on the money you have in the account. This is pitiful for a savings account, and you'll see why when we show you how that breaks down over time compared to a high yield account. Traditional savings accounts are obviously a very convenient option because you have the option to go to a physical bank and just open it if you need to. But you don't need that when this next option is just perfect for you.
Yeah, so the next option is high yield savings accounts or HYSAs. And these are the accounts that we want to discuss more in depth because they can really make you serious returns on your money. These types of accounts are mostly offered by online banks, in part because the operation costs are lower than physical operations. They're much higher interest, usually between 3 to 5%. It sounds too good to be true, but they're FDIC insured, so your money's safe, baby. If you went from a traditional account that earns 0.01% to an HYSA that earns 3%, that is a 29,900% increase.
Big numbers.
It's too much for my musician brain, but I was shocked I had to do that math twice. I have an old Huntington savings account. Guess what? Their savings account earned 0.01%. So this is not a joke. Like traditional savings accounts really just like don't have great annual percentage yields. Even if you went from 0.1% to a 3% account, that's a 2,900% increase. And you can see why this is like a no brainer. Let's break down how a 0.01% APY and a 3% APY compare when it comes to your money. If you deposit $5,000 into a traditional savings account that earns 0.1% every year, after a year you earn $5 for a total of $5,005. After 5 years, you'll have $5,025. And after 10 years, you'll have a whopping $5,051. That is sarcasm.
Probably not even going to be covering your avocado toast in 10 years. Real.
Forget about it. Yeah. Now let's look at what a $5,000 deposit would earn in a 3% annual percentage yield high yield savings account. 1 year in, your balance would be $5,150. 5 years in, it will be $5,796. And 10 years in, it'll be $6,719. That difference in growth is massive. You earn $145 more that first year. Then you earn $771, too much math, in 5 years, and then $1,668 in 10 years. That is just like a huge difference in value, all for zero effort on your part. You just keep the money in there, right?
This
Amazing.
is this is the easiest way to sound cool by saying you're earning passive income.
Point. I'm like, oh, you don't have an HYSA, a HYSA? No wonder they don't say it like that. Anyway, we tested it. It's a bad mouthfeel. All right. So, as with traditional savings accounts, high yield savings accounts usually have a transfer limit per month. So, you'll have to make your transfers to your checking accounts carefully. You can't use a debit card or write checks from these types of accounts. As we said, they also usually are online only, so you'll have to communicate over chat or email typically. It can mean longer response times, but I rarely have to talk to anyone for these types of accounts anyway. And when I do have to, I'll like use the chat feature and it's pretty quick. So personally, I don't see it as an issue, especially for like younger people. I don't really see this account being an issue at all. We're used to
I
it.
don't really want to talk to a real person if it's something simple. So this is great.
Yeah, seriously, I was like, physical banks, no thanks. So the high yield savings accounts are as low risk as any other checking or savings account. There's usually no minimum balance required, but you should read the terms and conditions before signing up just to be sure. Besides the transfer limits, the only downside is that you might get a better return or a higher risk investment, which you may or may not be comfortable doing now anyway. If you currently have a traditional savings account, we highly, highly recommend that you stop this podcast right now and switch to a high yield savings account, like immediately. It's the easiest thing you can do for yourself and your money goals, and it literally takes a few minutes. Consider making automatic deposits to this account so nothing stands between you and that sweet, sweet interest. We should note all interest that you make is considered taxable income, just like your other income. So if you made $14 interest in a year, you will receive a form from your bank and you have to account for that on your taxes that year. Remember that it's always better, though, to make more money, even after accounting for taxes. All right, moving on.
The next type of account we want to discuss is the money market account, or MMA, not the martial arts. Think of an MMA as a hybrid between savings and checking. An account like this gives you some of the benefits of a checking and savings account. Typically, you'll be able to write checks and you get a debit card. So these types of accounts do not require you to transfer to a checking account first, like an HYSA. Historically, they often offered higher interest rates than a traditional savings account, but nowadays this isn't always the case. I did a quick search and saw that there are a few HYSAs with no minimum that beat the APY of money market accounts. These accounts can have a higher balance minimums than savings accounts, so you'll have to check whether there are monthly maintenance fees. We here at the Freeway Philharmonic Pod don't really understand the point of this type of account when you can have the same or better rates with an HYSA. But if you have a use case for these places, please reach out so we can spread the word to the rest of our listeners. We want to help everybody, not just people who do the same stuff we do.
You know, from my perspective, I'm like, I don't really know why anyone would use this because I don't, but that's a very limited scope. So, let us know. We're curious. Our next account is very popular with classical musicians. It's the CD.
We don't mean compact disc.
All right, well, my mistake. We're talking about certificates of deposit. More like CDs savings, am I right?
I mean, when I was a kid, in my defense, when my parents would talk about putting money on a CD, I thought it was like a physical CD they took to the bank and the bank just had it there.
Yeah, they just play it and they're like, what a jam. So CDs are savings accounts that you deposit a fixed amount into for a fixed amount of time. Your money is guaranteed to make an exact amount, and you cannot access it until the term expires. CDs often have higher interest rates than an MMA or HYSA account, but the terms can be anywhere from a few months to a few years where your money is locked up. These types of accounts are good for conservative investors who want to see predictable growth from their money. They're also great for people who impulsively spend their savings. So if you're trying to budget against your shopaholic nature, consider looking into these. If you need access to this money before the term is up, you will face a heavy fine. So be sure you won't miss this money before you agree to lock it away. It's like, what was it? Who was in the tower with the long hair? I almost said Goldilocks.
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel, yeah.
My like first thought was actually Saruman. So
the best response you possibly could have said. All right. So the highest rates right now that I see for CDs are above 4%, but so are some high yield savings accounts and MMAs. So be sure to do your homework on what would best fit your lifestyle. For example, if you put $1,000 into a 12-month CD with a 4.5% APY, you'll earn $45 guaranteed. No more, no less. One of the downsides of CDs is that if the stock market goes up, your money is stuck in this CD earning less than it could. But it's a way less volatile way of making money on your money. So for certain stages of life, it may be right for you.
Or right now when the stock market is in the toilet.
An interesting time. So high-yield savings accounts, money market accounts, and short-term CDs are all great ways to save for your short and medium-term goals. So goals between a few months to like 2 years away, depending on the account type, of course. They're all FDIC insured and very low-risk ways of saving money. As we've said, all of these earn a much higher interest than a traditional checking or traditional savings account. So really look into them. As we've said, make sure you understand the contract you're entering into. Some of these accounts lock up your money for a period of time, so you should make sure you have enough money in other accounts if needed.
Another type of specialty savings account is an HSA or a health savings account. These are available with eligible health insurance plans. The most common setup is your plan automatically sets a portion of money aside from your paycheck for qualified medical expenses. The list is quite broad, including copays, prescriptions, dental care, glasses, and I could just keep going on. By setting it up this way, you can avoid paying Medicare and Social Security taxes. Another potential benefit is that your employer can make contributions to your HSA if they choose to do so. If you don't need the money for immediate medical expenses, you can invest it all or a part of it until you do, thereby benefiting from compound interest. This helps build up even more of a pot of money for those future expenses. These types of accounts are labeled tax advantaged, in part because your contribution to this account lowers your taxable income and because you're able to invest it. The money in the account isn't taxed even if it earns interest or returns. As long as you use the money for medical purposes when you take it out, it also isn't taxed then. That's the trifecta of tax advantages. And you can feel like you're in a higher tax bracket than you actually are.
That's what we're trying to do here on the FP Pod.
There are yearly contribution limits, so you should try to hit those if possible because compounding will pay off a lot as you get older and have more medical bills. We'll talk about compounding interest as we discuss investments. If you're 65 or older, then you can use the HSA money for things other than medical expenses without penalty, but you'll have to pay income tax on it. The HSA doesn't have the same required minimum distribution rules as 401ks or traditional IRAs, so you don't need to withdraw a portion when you turn 73. That can provide a lot of security as you age. There are also no rules about using your funds by the end of the calendar year with HSAs, unlike FSAs. Also, if you leave your job, the HSA is yours to keep, unlike FSAs. HSAs are often offered with high deductible health plans or ADHPs, meaning you will pay a much higher annual deductible than traditional health plans. So you'll just be paying more in the immediate future to have the long-term benefits of the account. Just in case you hate insurance as much as we do, the deductible is the amount of money you pay out of pocket before your insurance coverage begins to pay. And don't worry, we're going to do an insurance episode this summer.
Like it sucks, right? Everyone's got to learn what the hell is going on with insurance. But
my insurance just got bought out by a for-profit company, so great.
That's good. That's good to hear. We're all positive here on the FB Pod. Mm-hmm. Hey, everybody! Just re-recording one of the sections of this podcast because my headphones decided to cut in and out every sentence. So. Let's talk about FSAs, shall we? Next up, FSAs, or flexible spending accounts. What are they, and how do they differ from HSAs? Flexible spending accounts are another type of account that you can use to pay for covered medical expenses. They are arranged through your employer and allow you to pay for medical expenses with tax-free money. Similar to HSAs, you can cover things like insurance co-payments, deductibles, co-insurance, drugs, and medical equipment as the plan dictates. You determine the amount you want withheld from your paychecks and distributed to your FSA. These are also annual contribution limit accounts, and your employer can choose to contribute money for you. You must submit claims of proof of the medical expense, and then you'll get reimbursed for your cost. One of the major differences is that this money disappears every year if you don't use it. Your employer will either offer 2.5 months extra each year for you to use it, or the option to carry over up to $660 for the next plan year, but not both. You also cannot invest this money in the same way that you can with an HSA, and if you leave the company, you should use all the funds because you can't take it with you. It's a great thing to have, but it's obviously not as beneficial in the long term as an HSA. So to be clear, I'll take whatever I can get.
The next specialty account is the Coverdale Education Savings Account, or an ESA, so many ESAs. Well, these can't be set up by someone for themselves. They're a very useful tool for parents, and you should know about them in case you are one or plan to set up one for your little tykes in the future. ESAs are trust accounts that can help families fund educational expenses. The beneficiary must be under the age of 18 when the account is set up, unless they receive a waiver for special needs. The maximum contribution per year is currently $2,000. While contributions aren't tax deductible, you don't have to pay taxes on investment income or capital gains. Withdrawals are also a federal tax-free as long as you use the funds for qualified expenses like tuition, books, supplies, all of those fun things. You can use these funds for expenses in elementary, secondary education, and college. 529 plans differ slightly from ESAs because you can use them for qualified college expenses, but you can only use up to $10,000 for primary or secondary school expenses. And that even depends on if your state allows it. I'm not sure. Growing up in Ohio, I had one of these, and I'm not sure if it did. There are no age limits set up to set them up in most states. I do know with mine, I had to use all of it by like age 28, which was not a problem. There are no caps on how much you can contribute, but they also have a limited selection of investment options compared to an ESA. The good news is you can do both if you'd like. Just make sure to use the ESA before the beneficiary turns 30 unless they have special needs. You can change the beneficiary to another member of the original beneficiary's family as long as they're under 30.
Now that we've covered options for short to medium term goals, let's talk about those long term savings options. The carrot at the end of the stick, but you actually get to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
We're discussing retirement account types and investments. We'll start with Roth IRAs, or Roth Individual Retirement Accounts, because a lot of young people will be eligible for this type of account. A Roth is an account you contribute after tax dollars to, and your earnings grow tax free. Your contributions are not tax deductible, but your withdrawals are federal income tax free and penalty free. Anyone Roth IRA as long as you're 18 years old and make less than $161,000 a year if you're single, or less than $240,000 if you're married filing jointly. There are contribution limits every year as well, which we're not going to post here because they change every year. So, it'll just be inaccurate. There's no required minimum distribution when you turn a certain age, aka you don't have to take out the money once you reach a certain age. But if you withdraw funds before age 59 and a half, you may incur a 10% early withdrawal penalty.
Another type of IRA is the traditional IRA, which anyone can open as well, but they are a bit different from a Roth. Your contributions are also after tax dollars and tax deductible if you meet the income requirements. The major difference is that you pay taxes on your contributions and earnings when you withdraw. You're required to take out a minimum amount starting at age 73. There are contribution limits every year. So to break it down simply, the main difference between a Roth and a traditional retirement savings account is how and when you're taxed. Contributions to Roth IRAs are not tax deductible, but qualified withdrawals in retirement are tax-free. Contributions to traditional IRAs are tax deductible in the year that they are made, but withdrawals in retirement are taxable as ordinary income. The main way to choose which is right for you is to think about whether your tax rate will be higher or lower in the future. For all of us, I can definitely say it will only go up with time because you can only go up from zero. But in all seriousness, you'll make more as you age in this industry, so you should open one of these. Full disclosure, Lauren got on me to open a Roth last year, and it's the best decision I've ever been forced into. And speaking of taxes, I did get a tax credit for starting a retirement savings account. So you will get that tax credit for just opening the thing. Just open it.
Yeah, if I can strong arm like one more person to open one of these today, I'll be a happy girl. So, next up, if you work for a nonprofit, aka an orchestra, your job probably offers a 403B plan. It's basically the nonprofit world's version of a 401k, where your employer offers a retirement account and you put a percentage of your paycheck into it. And they also can offer matching on it, which is like getting free money just for saving. Sometimes they will match a percentage after a certain number of years with the company, so you're incentivized to stay longer. That is called a vesting period. 403bs work like this. You put part of your paycheck into the account, that money grows over time through investments, and you usually pay taxes when you take the money out in retirement. There are traditional 403bs where you save on taxes now, and Roth 403bs where you pay taxes now, but you get to enjoy tax free withdrawals later. It depends though if your employer offers that, so they might only offer one of them. Plus, the contribution limits for these types of accounts are pretty generous. So, if you want to seriously build your retirement savings, a 403b is a great tool to take advantage of. Make sure you understand your options in your orchestra and talk to the team if you have literally any questions whatsoever, because these are very complex accounts.
All right, we're going to briefly talk about pensions because though it is less common to be offered one in this day and age, they still exist in some orchestras. Any orchestra that is with the union, you might be vesting in the pension. Some of the smaller ones don't now, but you should understand what they are. A pension is your employer's promise to pay you a set amount every month when you retire. You don't have to manage it, they take care of it. You get taxed on it as if it's regular income, so you'll have to account for that deduction. Pensions are great because you have a guaranteed income stream when you're ancient. Hooray!
If you're self employed or you run a small business with no full time employees, the solo 401k is one of the most powerful retirement tools you can use. It lets you contribute both as the employee and the employer, meaning you can save way more each year than you could with a regular IRA. Up to $69,000 in 2024, or even more if you're over 50. So, like, I have never seen that kind of money in my life, but it sounds great. As with a lot of the other accounts we discussed, you can choose a traditional solo 401k where you save on taxes now and pay later, or a Roth solo 401k where you pay taxes today but enjoy tax free withdrawals in retirement, which is always great. A lot of people don't know that they actually have this option for a retirement account, but it's a very powerful tool if you meet the qualifications.
Another option if you're self-employed or run a small business is an SEP IRA or Simplified Employee Pension IRA. SEP IRAs are a great way to save for retirement with minimal hassle. They allow you to contribute up to 25% of your income or $69,000 in 2024, which is way more that you can contribute to a regular IRA. As with many of these accounts, the money is typically invested in a range of options like stocks, bonds, all those fun things, and the list can go on depending on how you choose to allocate it. One of the big advantages is how simple it is to set up and manage. You don't need a lot of paperwork. There are no complex annual filing requirements unless your account grows over $250,000. The catch
Having that problem, please let me know.
Yeah, I would love to have that problem. The catch is only the employer contributes. So if you're self-employed, you can't also contribute as the employee. If you have employees, even if they're part-time, you're required to contribute the same percentage of their salary as you contribute to your own SEP IRA. So it can get expensive. There is no option for a Roth pay tax now option, so your contributions are tax deferred, meaning you won't pay taxes on the money you put in until you withdraw it in retirement. The SEP IRA is also incredibly flexible. You don't need to contribute every year, and you can adjust your contributions based on how your business is doing. It's perfect for people who have unpredictable income, yay us, or want a large deduction on their taxes in high income years. As you can see, there's a lot of different ways to plan for your retirement. Just note that with the exception of Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks, your retirement money is taxed as income. Don't confuse it with the capital gains tax, which we'll get into in the next part.
It can be very confusing as to like how these things are taxed and when. So I know we're throwing a lot at you guys, but we will have some of this broken down on the website. And maybe you just need to listen to the podcast like 400 times for you to get it in your head, what's the difference.
This
But
isn't maybe like the most driver friendly version of this podcast. You might have to stop and write things down.
yeah, you might need to take notes like you're in college. Maybe you are in college. Good for you. All right, so now we're just going to give you the quick and dirty explanation of non-retirement investment accounts that you can open for the expansion of your financial portfolio. Very soon, we're going to have an entire episode breaking down the difference between things like stocks, bonds, ETF, WTF. Sorry, we all know what that one means. Right now, we want to just mention some of the major account types that you can open, starting with brokerage accounts. A brokerage account gives you the flexibility to invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs with no contribution limits. You can buy and sell investments as you like, and there are no restrictions on withdrawals. However, any capital gains from selling investments or dividends you earn will be taxed in the year you receive them. This option is ideal if you want to manage your investments actively and have the freedom to access your money whenever you need it.
Up next, robo-advisors. Robo-advisors such as Betterment or Wealthfront provide a hands-off investment solution by using algorithms to build and manage a diversified portfolio based on your goals and risk tolerance. These platforms automate the process of rebalancing your portfolio and can also offer tax-saving strategies like tax loss harvesting. While they make investing easier and more accessible, you'll still be subject to taxes on capital gains and dividends, just like a traditional brokerage account. And you may pay more of a fee for this service depending on who you choose, so make sure to shop around. Robo-advisors are great for people who prefer convenience and automated management without needing to dive into individual stock picking, which, if we're being honest, is usually a bad idea anyway. Next is taxable bonds. They are debt securities issued by companies or governments that pay interest over time, offering a relatively stable investment compared to stocks. They can be bought through a brokerage or directly from the government, and the interest earned is typically taxed as ordinary income. Bonds are suitable for those seeking steady income with lower risk than stocks, but they generally offer lower returns. Capital gains taxes apply if you sell the bond for more than you paid, though bonds tend to be less volatile than other investments.
Lastly, we'll discuss buying individual stocks, aka being a cocky moron or a passionate believer in a company's mission. You can only be one. Buying individual stocks means you're directly investing in specific companies, giving you ownership and voting rights in those businesses. This can also be a great way to potentially earn high returns, especially in high growth sectors, but it also comes with a lot of high risk due to market volatility. You'll be subject to taxes on dividends and capital gains, with long-term holdings over 1 year typically taxed at a lower rate. Individual stocks are a good fit for those who are comfortable with a lot more risk. So in case we weren't clear about this, don't do it until you're richer. When you invest in a regular brokerage account, you'll pay capital gains tax when you sell something for a profit. If you held the investment for a year or less, it's taxed like ordinary income. But if you held it for more than a year, you get a lower tax rate, usually 0, 15, or 20%, depending on your income. Managing how long you hold investments can save you a lot on taxes over time. As you increase your income, you may find it necessary to talk to a wealth manager or tax professional because they are experts at this, not us.
And once again, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
Aren't we
Please,
so entertaining?
please, just the purpose of this podcast, find an option that you think is the best for you and then go seek out experts in whatever option you choose. Because we are not financial brokers. In summary, there's a lot of different ways to save for your short, medium, and long term goals. The main point of this podcast episode, as I said again, is to get you thinking about ways to set yourself up for success and to help you guide you towards options that may suit your lifestyle. The more of these options you can use and more importantly, automate, the easier it'll be for you to guarantee your future financial success. This week, take a look at your financial goals and consider setting up an automatic transfer to your HYSA or opening a Roth IRA. Start small and increase contributions as you get more comfortable. Let us know what you want to hear at the Freeway Philharmonic by sending us a DM on Instagram or emailing us at freewayphilharmonic@gmail.com. We are always excited to hear from you. Thanks for listening. The more you do, the more you save.